Good morning, everyone. KO, how you doing?
Hey, doing awesome this morning. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Busy day yesterday, just getting caught up from yesterday, actually. Crazy weekend, too.
Yeah, same here. Was traveling this weekend to Colorado, and it was a crazy, yeah, busy weekend. So got my car towed in Denver. That was fun.
Yeah, I was really upset about that. I had took a trip to Colorado this week, and I saw these crazy amount of people parked at Wendy's, and I was going to have their cars towed, to try to keep away from the bad food, and somebody beat me to it. The parking lot was empty.
Well, yeah, they that was me. That was me, and actually about 20 other people um, got towed from the same lot. We were all at the same tow yard, and
That's crazy.
all nice and happy together. Yeah, that was great. I'm getting a little bit of feedback. I don't know if it's me or you, or like a static.
Oh, really? Is that better? Is that better? Check my sound here.
Can you hear me?
How's that?
It just comes it's like a static sound with your talking, but I don't know if it's my headset.
I'm hearing a slight echo. me see here. Gonna make an adjustment here so we're not getting static.
Yeah, I don't know if it's my end or your end.
Is that any better?
The static still comes through on my end. Um,
That's weird.
it's just when you talk, but I don't know if I don't know if anybody else is hearing it or if it's just my headset.
Check here. I did have some updates on the computer. Apple had updated their Mac OS. So I did a bunch of different stuff. How's that? Better?
It's the same.
Still getting it? Oh man, that's not good.
Well, it's not crazy bad. It's just a little bit. We can continue on today and
Work the kinks out.
troubleshoot it a little bit later.
If there is a little bit of static, we apologize. Hopefully it's not too bad.
And there may not. It might just be my headset for some reason. So
All right. All right. So we've got, let's see, episode 2 today. We've got the 21 Deadliest Martial Arts. And I had done a little bit of research. I know from our last podcast, I'll pull up. I think we're doing, let me see if I can scooch over here to the screen share.
oop, you lost me.
Oh, hold on. There we go.
Aha, we got it. Oh, minus me, but that's all right.
Yeah, we'll get you back. Let's see.
Yeah, so while we're getting that set, last week we looked at our 21 Deadliest Martial Arts list, which was just a random article I found on the internet. So we're kind of going through each one and seeing what we think. We made it through Bokator, Sipalki, Muay Thai, Sambo, and Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. So in this episode, we'll be looking at karate, Silat, Marine Corps martial arts program, Bakom, and maybe Taekwondo. We'll see how far we get today. And just taking a look at the different martial arts and our thoughts on them and our thoughts on this list. And these articles are pretty funny too. You'll see here in just a minute. We'll get into them. Pretty interesting stats and things like that. So.
All right, I think we got. Okay, we got you back in there. There we go.
All right, sweet.
Man, everything moved around. I love all the updates and the changes, but it's like everything on your desktop moves. It was crazy. But
Hey,
everything is
Sakiran.
working quicker at least, so.
Sakiran's with us. Hey, Sakiran, and if you could tell us, can you hear static when SC Kicker is talking? Just want to make sure.
Hey, Sakiran, good morning. Hope you're doing well.
Trying to figure out if it's just my headset or if it's coming from one of us.
You didn't take any kicks yesterday, did you?
No, not yesterday. Not yesterday. All right, so we got through Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu last time, and then you were able to talk to a buddy, correct? Was it about
Yeah, I'm
Boca?
actually just pulling that up now. So I have a buddy that's out in like Cambodia, and we were asking about. I think it was it Bocator?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me see what he had said about that because I honestly had never heard of this art before. Let's see here.
Yes, Bokator is a Cambodian martial art.
Yeah, so it was from what he said, that's what they called MMA in ancient times in Cambodia.
I mean, that's pretty legit. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, because I had never heard of it before. I know he's got a lot of people that do kickboxing and Muay Thai out there, and is around it all the time. So it was interesting to get his take on it. But so it is an ancient MMA.
Yeah, I definitely learned something there. I had never heard of that. So moving on down the list, we are to karate as the number 16 martial arts, deadliest martial arts. So let's see what it says here about karate. I'm definitely more familiar with karate. Um, Growing up doing taekwondo, they're quite similar. So karate is a traditional Japanese martial art. Let's see what kind of stats they have here. Karate practitioners use punches, kicks, blocks, strikes, and throws to overpower opponents during sparring or kata performance. It also employs joint locks and pressure techniques for self defense. Here we go. Here's the statistics that we love. According to statistics, 59.4% of MMA fighters have suffered some kind of injury during their bouts involving karate skills and techniques. Furthermore, Muay Thai is considered to be one of the deadliest styles of martial arts among karate practitioners due to its lethal knee strikes. That whole last paragraph just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know why they started talking about Muay Thai when we're talking about karate.
Yeah, it's all over the board there.
And then just so you guys know, I do not have very much faith in these stats. uh, I don't know how you calculate every strike from every UFC fight or MMA fight, and then you have to know exactly what kind of strike it was, what kind of practitioner they were, and the crossover between the different martial arts. I don't know how. Um, I could be wrong. They could have documented every single strike ever recorded in MMA and done the calculations, but I doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt that.
So I'm not sure on these percentages and where they're getting that information, but it does spark the conversation about karate. So what is your experience with karate?
God, there's so many different styles. So early on, I started my journey in martial arts in an art called Hung Gar Kung Fu under Grandmaster Wang. And he was from Toisan. And when he passed away, we didn't have any other people to teach the style that he taught where I lived. And I ended up moving into Ishinryu, which was a Japanese karate from Okinawa. And that was my main experience with it. And the Japanese karate is typically known for really low stances, and they use a lot of low kicks as well for self defense. Kicks to the knees, things like that. And they do a lot of the art that I studied, anyways. Did a lot of kicking with the blade of the foot was emphasized. So, but I have a little bit of knowledge. It's very similar to Taekwondo in so many different ways, just a little bit different. And a lot of it has to do with the body style. In Japan, the practitioners and the people that live there are a little bit shorter. So because of that, you do see the really low stances and the lower lying kicks, as per what their body styles are.
Yeah, I've always described it so growing up doing taekwondo is traditionally, and every school is a little bit different, but about 70% kicks, 30% hands, whereas karate might be more like 50% hands, 50% kicks. So would you describe it similar
Yeah,
or
it's about a
different?
50-50, I would say. And it depends if you're talking like self-defense or if you're talking like tournament type practitioner. I know in a lot of the open circuits, a lot of the Japanese systems, and I'm sure it's similar with a lot of the Taekwondo on the competition circuit, open circuit, they use a lot of like back fists and, techniques where they go into techniques at one time, like a blitz. But it's not a lot of power. It's just more to score the point.
Right.
But yeah, I would say 50-50.
Yeah. Our taekwondo school that we run, I would actually describe it as closer to 50-50 percentage of karate. But just growing up, I like to box and things like that. And there was we've just incorporated a lot more hand techniques, and it was about, goodness, it might have been like 15 years ago when we kind of switched Taekwondo styles, where we started at, because a lot of Taekwondo styles did not allow punching to the head, like in sparring and point sparring and stuff like that. And we we started to incorporate strikes to the head and sparring, punches to the head, that is. And ever since then, too, we've started doing a lot more hand techniques and punching combinations. And I think it's wonderful because we're getting the students, used to protecting their head. Which, if you're ever in a fight or a self defense situation, that's what's going to be happening. Probably, you're probably going to be going for your head.
Yeah, 100%. The first art I studied, we did a lot of hand work. It was a lot of punching and blocking, just over and over. So I was really accustomed to it. So when I switched into, when I moved from where I lived, when I moved down south, there was really no systems or training similar to what I had done where I lived. So I ended up migrating into Taekwondo. And one of the first schools that I went to back then was a more of an Olympic style Taekwondo. And it definitely wasn't my favorite because there was no hands to the head at all.
Yeah,
Everything was to the body only. And even, I remember going to like a junior Olympic trial way out on the coast, and you about had to kill somebody with the punch before they would even call a point, even to the body. It was crazy.
yeah.
And so if it wasn't a kick, it wasn't getting called in most cases. So it changes, definitely changes the aspect of fighting where it's only kicks. But if you don't know how to protect your head, one of the things I saw way out, I was somewhere on the coast. There was a real high rank black belt division at the time, and there were two different guys fighting, both really good martial artists as far as kicking, unbelievable. And one of them had a lot of boxing experience as well. And he ended up destroying the other guy. But the one thing that I noticed in that fight, watching from the stands, was that the one guy that was a really good kicker, he came out and his hands were down
Mm.
at his sides the whole time. And, a lot of times people say, they're doing it to bait, which, yeah, that can be true. But when you get against another competitor or even a self-defense situation, I don't want to have my hands down by my side. It just takes too long to lift them up. It takes more energy too. So I'd rather have my hands up a little bit higher, especially when you're fighting. You just don't know how you can get caught and how quick.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Um, well, keeping the show moving here, so we can get through at least four or five. Moving on to Silat. I think that's how you say that. It is an Indonesian martial art that has been in existence since around the 8th century. It focuses on striking techniques and agility, as well as defense against multiple attackers with or without weapons at once. Silat requires intense training to perfect its various forms of self defense and attack techniques. It is one of the deadliest martial arts, utilizing joint locks, throws, sweeps, strikes from a variety of angles, and kuda kuda, horse stance, it says, drills for speed development. I think we're getting to the good stuff here. One of the most lethal components of Silat are weapon defense techniques, which include use of knives and machetes used by practitioners for disarming opponents quickly. Like any other martial arts system originally designed for war purposes, it consists of deadly punches, kicks, blocks, and parries that can be effective even against armed assailants. The hand to hand combat technique also includes straight blade, such as slashes to vital areas like eyes or throat, which it can end up killing their opponent instantly if not properly guarded against. All right, have you ever heard of Silat?
So I actually, I've heard this a lot. It's similar to what we train in Eskrima. I train in Arnis with the sticks and knives, and there's a lot of different weapons that they use, even including like bull whips and stuff, horse whips. And I had just spoke with a Salat instructor actually about 6 months ago, and he was telling me a lot about it, and it's very similar to Arnis, but it's a really good art for self defense. I really like it. I think it's a practical art for sure. I haven't trained it, but I've trained other arts that are very similar to it.
Yeah, I've heard of it and I've seen a little bit of it. I have not learned any of it myself. Uh, as far as the title of this article goes, the deadliest martial arts. I mean, they're training with blades and uh, defense with blades. Maybe it looks like some offense and disarming with blades, but definitely seems pretty pretty intense. But I do. Every martial art is you know you think about if you get punched, it just takes one punch to get knocked out. It's actually not the punch that you're scared of; it's actually the fall, right? So a lot of people get hurt. You can get knocked out, but it's hitting your head on the asphalt or on a curb or something like that that can really do a ton of damage. I mean, anytime you're talking about combat, whether it's with weapons or without weapons. I mean, jujitsu, you're doing chokes and things like that, which can be very harmful if you don't know what you're doing. So, I mean, many ways that martial arts can be, very, violent or, deadly, but so interesting. It's always interesting though, like when they're using, do because you've practiced a lot more knife defense and attack, and so what's been your experience with that?
So with again, going back to like different arts practice different things, based on where they live, body styles, all that stuff. So it, if it's similar, I'm not familiar with the Indonesia area, but I know like in the Philippines, in that particular area, you have people in the Philippines, they carry around sticks and knives. That's something that is daily there. They carry that stuff around. So that's why they practice against those things, because there are common things that come up, and there was a lot of fights with that. And then they even have, uh, with the Philippines, there's a lot of different dialects. So they even speak with gestures, with hands, so that languages aren't misinterpreted, where rule sets are different. I'm not sure how it works again with Salat, but I would imagine it's fairly similar, based on that's what they train for and with. If they train with knives and sticks, there's a lot of that prominent in that area. So it started to become like a daily routine to practice against those things, I would imagine.
Hmm.
And there's a big difference from the way you're going to defend against a knife as you are, from a punch, because you need to protect the vital parts of the body. Because if you get nicked with a blade, in one spot, and you get nicked in another spot, those two different spots, based on where arteries are and stuff, makes a big difference, whether you live or die, basically. So you can get hurt or you can die. There's two different outcomes there. So based on the way that you defend against the weapon.
Absolutely.
With
All right, so
knives are scary too when you talk about self defense. Any weapon is scary, but with knives in particular, because statistically, if there's a knife involved, you're gonna get nicked. So you're trying to limit how bad and where you get nicked as well.
absolutely. All right, so that was Silat, and let's move on to the Marine Corps martial arts program. It's interesting that they're calling this like one of the martial arts on the list. What are your I mean, have you ever I know they teach martial arts in the military and the Marines and different forms of combatives and stuff like that. So, have you ever heard of this being its own martial art? Or
Yeah,
I have not.
I had a guy that was in the Marines, that trained with us for a short time when he was in this area, and he had said he had trained in the Marine Corps martial arts. So I think it was like more of a tactical defense. So it was different than what we train in the academies. It's a mix of different things. And I know just talking to people in the military, they've got different influences from judo to karate to jujitsu. So I don't know a whole lot about the system, but I think it may incorporate a lot of different things, even maybe some like Krav Maga, some Arnis, um, so a lot of different variety of martial arts. And I think, just based on which type of martial artists that they've had go in and teach, I know some of the Gracies have gone in and taught, stuff to the Marines. I know one of my instructors has done a lot of training with the military in our niche specifically for knife defense. That would be something that would be common for them in close quarters, hand to hand combat. So I don't know a whole lot about it, but I would gather that it's a lot of different things based on just combat tactics.
Yeah, it seems like they have just picked things from different martial arts and put them in there. It says right here it incorporates multiple disciplines, including Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. joint locks, striking, ground fighting. Let's see what it says down here. It's designed to help Marines develop physical fitness and mental resilience. They're taught how to use weapons like bayonets. Um,
I have heard, I know I was talking to a military guy a couple of weeks ago, and I have heard that with a lot of those programs, there's actually a lot of injuries because it's like kill or be killed, kind of. It's a little bit different training with what they're doing. So he did say there were quite a few injuries with people that were practicing the arts because they just kind of, they go all out and maybe
well,
don't have the repetition of the actual techniques and the full, like the thousand times of repetition. They don't have that. I think it's just a little bit different.
well, and the mindset that these guys, or we train for self defense all the time, and there's also days where we practice for sport, right? So if you're doing Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, if you're competing, you're going to do some things slightly different than you would in a self defense situation. Same with Taekwondo. Winning a Taekwondo point sparring tournament is way different. Training for that is way different than just training for self defense and protecting yourself. These guys are just practicing to defend themselves, defend uh, the people around them, and the mindset of this training is so much different. It is for self defense, but there's zero sport to it, and it's whereas maybe using Taekwondo or Jiu Jitsu to subdue somebody or control them, uh, maybe you don't want to hurt the person, you just need to settle them down, so anyway, these people are training. They have uh, to kill. They have to defend themselves, the people around them, and then quickly keep moving. And I think it's a different mindset. It's a quite higher intensity.
Yeah, 100%.
So I could definitely see that. Moving on to Bacome. Bacome, you've ever heard of this one?
I've not heard of this one either, actually.
So Bacome is a very deadly martial art that originated in the south of Thailand. It's an ancient form of Muay Thai. So it seems as if it's kind of a form of Muay Thai. The
Hmm.
goal of Bacome is to use both physical and mental strength. See if I can find some good stuff here. Yes, here we go. The stats. This fighting style ranks in the top 21 due to its focus on knee strikes rather than common punches or kicks. Here we go again with these 95% of all martial arts statistics and facts are made up. However, 59% of have reported suffering from injury during bouts with practitioners utilizing Bacone for self-defense. That just makes I just feel like somebody type this into Chat GPT and
Yeah.
give me some random facts or statistics, and just makes zero sense. So um, no other information really on it except that it's kind of just a branch or form of Muay Thai.
Yeah, this is a new one on me. I've never heard of it. Yeah, and the stats are interesting. It's kind of like a blanket stat across the
I,
board.
so I think I said this in the last stream. I mean, 95% of martial arts statistics are and facts are made up. However, 59% of I don't know. It's
That's
just doesn't
interesting.
make any sense. I have to look up Bacome a little bit more. See if I can find out a little bit
And
more
that one's in
information.
Thailand as well. I'll have to reach out to my Thailand connection and see what he has to say about that.
All right, moving on to one that we're very familiar with. We have Taekwondo. So I've been doing this since I was 4 years old, um, and just it's been a part of my life. Actually, got a Korean dragon tattoo on my arm to signify the importance of Taekwondo in my life and how it's affected my life. And this one is uh, very personal to me. I just feel like all the confidence and discipline and really made me into to who I am. and the people that have influenced me through martial arts and Taekwondo. So, but Taekwondo is a Korean martial art. Focuses a little bit more on kicks than you might see some fancier kicks. You see the butterfly kicks or tornado kicks, some people call it. A little bit more agile jumping and spinning and things like that. Which that's kind of the sporty side of it, which is the reason I've caught a lot of flack over the years. People saying that it's not good for self defense and things like that, and that's really just not true. And that is not the reason I started to fight and do MMA fights. But it definitely was a little icing on the cake. Whenever you win using your Taekwondo and use it for self defense and be able to show that it's not just all the fancy jumping and spinning kicks. There's a ton of practical basic combinations and punches and kicks that are wonderful for self defense.
Yeah, Taekwondo, I hear the same thing too, just like you're saying is when you practice Taekwondo, you get that weird look, and it's not really, it goes back to the theory, it's not really what you practice. It's how you train and how you use what you learn. So, and I talked to, because we have a really great jiu-jitsu program here in our area, and we have a really good Taekwondo program and weaponry program. And I talked to, parents and students that train jiu-jitsu with us, and maybe they've come from another Taekwondo school. And they tell me some of the things that are taught and trained at those schools. And it's interesting because some of the schools, it's very true, they do not touch on self-defense at all, not
Mm-hmm.
even at the beginner levels. And we do that at our schools, and I always have. I got into martial arts for self-defense, and so it's always been something that I've had in my teachings. So it's just when I hear that, I don't know. We've just always taught it, so it doesn't resonate with me for Taekwondo.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I wonder if so. First of all, it says right here, Taekwondo has been recognized around the world as an Olympic event since 2000. I actually didn't realize it was that recent. I felt like I thought it was earlier than that it
I did
was
too,
introduced.
actually.
I might have to double check that fact, but you know, with that, a lot of people training to get to the Olympics or training the Olympic style, um, which is more sport for sure. There's some good stuff for it for self defense, but it's definitely more sporty. So I wonder if that has had an effect on people training less self defense and more for the sport side of it, which is fine too. If you want to compete and do the Olympics style and that's fantastic. All martial arts is great. Just make sure you understand that doing the big tornado kick is not or even like the big jump axe kick. It's a very popular one in Olympics. It's not the best option for self defense. So I think as long as you know what you're practicing and know, you know what your focus is, and not to have realistic expectations from what you're practicing, I just think that's important.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And if you watch Olympics and the Taekwondo, if you watch a match, if you were to pull it up right now on YouTube or whatever, you're going to see nothing but kicking. They're just switch kicking back and forth, and
Yeah.
like you said, that doesn't work if somebody is charging you. You get someone that's like a wrestler or just a bully type, not saying wrestlers are bullies, but just a bully type person that likes to charge. They're very aggressive. Once they get in on you, your kicks are useless. You can't do anything anyways. So you definitely have to know how to use your hands, and the high flying stuff goes out the windows. I personally think for self defense, kicks should never be thrown above like the rib level. There's no reason for it. You're just putting yourself at risk. I had seen an instance in Canada. This is years back. I think I was like 16. And there was a guy, we actually happened to be at a tournament. And we stopped at this place, and it was icy out. It was wintertime. And there was a kid that was a really good black belt at the time. This kid was like a third or fourth degree black belt. He was like one of the best kickers around. And he was also a showboat type guy. He ended up being at a little club, and he ended up getting into an altercation with a bunch of bikers. And he tried to throw a head level kick. He was on ice, slipped and fell, and this kid got the tar beat out of him. And I always remembered that. And I think this guy was probably around his maybe 24 or something. I was a little bit younger at the time, and I just remember seeing that, and there was no reason to throw that kick that high. I think a
Yep.
little bit of ego and trying to showboat a little bit, and you take that into a self-defense situation, that is not a good mix. So there's really no reason to, in close corridors for sure. There's no reason to be throwing high kicks, and if I was to use it for self-defense and it's life saving, I'm not going to be kicking high anyways. I'm going to take the legs and dismantle, and it limits their ability to get into you.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, don't get me wrong. If a Olympic martial artist, Taekwondo martial artist, kicked you or even kicked
Yeah.
me, that would probably be the end of the fight. I mean, they're incredibly powerful and fast. However, the average person, and I'm by no means an Olympic athlete, is not an Olympic athlete, and they don't have that speed and that power, to kick head level as super fast. Um, so you know, being aware of your capabilities and knowing what you're able to do, and knowing that a big tornado kick to the head is probably not the best option for self defense. And t- I've had some injuries. I actually have a surgery coming up on my hip here in a few weeks, and I'm going to be one of those people that rushes in and tries to use my jiu-jitsu for a while, because I won't be able to kick uh, and things like that. So that's why it's important to practice, close quarters, elbows, punches, knees, um, which are all very effective for self-defense. And then you get into the topic of jiu-jitsu and grappling, which is different. Right now, just talking about taekwondo and striking martial arts, but
Yeah, and if
um,
you think of those kicks like you're talking about, the tornado kick, yeah, if you get hit with one of those, it's definitely going to do some damage. So the tremendous amount of momentum and power coming through. But from the other side of it too, if you're doing, because I've used that kick for board breaks, different things. So again, it is powerful, but it also can, it's a very high level technique. So you could actually get injured doing them too if you land funny coming out of a spin. So for self defense, again, I wouldn't recommend that for sure. That particular kick.
yeah, that's very true. Maui says that Krav Maga is great for self defense, and I do agree with you, Maui. And I
Yes.
was looking at on the list when we're gonna cover Krav Maga, and it looks like it's the last one. So we're gonna do 4 episodes on this, and so we'll get to that one on the last episode. Definitely look forward to talking about uh,
Oh, good.
Krav
The
Maga.
scream is on there too.
So there's 21, so we do need to get 5 per episode, and one of the episodes 6. We're at about 36 minutes right now, so we could actually talk about Eskrima real quick if you wanted to wrap up with that one today.
Yeah, I love Eskrima. This is actually one of my favorite styles of martial art, that in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. I think they're easier on the body. You could practice them for a long time. You don't have to have unbelievable flexibility for Eskrima. So I train with Amaguru Rafi, and he's a fifth generation master from Philippines. And it's an art that I started training, I guess it's been 20 years now, and just kind of fell in love with it. And there's a lot of stick work. We get into bolo training. I've had the opportunity to work with bull whips and horse whips, which I'm still to this day not comfortable. I almost lost an eye practicing with it the first time. So anytime you're training with those, wear goggles. Lesson learned. But you get into like the bladed knife defense. You get into hand-to-hand combat. So there's so much different stuff, and it even encompasses grappling too. So grappling with sticks, grappling when it comes to blades, and then also hand-to-hand grappling too in different ways. So, and it's stuff that's easier on the body, and it's all self-defense. It's all self-defense. There's no flash or crazy stuff, but there can be, you can do stuff with flash, like any other art, but it's just a lot of real practical stuff. And the one thing that I like is when you train in Eskrima, from the style that I train personally, is the hand-to-hand stuff, the knife and the stick. It's all very similar. So if you're training one, you're actually training the other. The only thing that changes is maybe the distance and then also the positioning of your body when it comes to blade defense. So, but it's honestly been one of my favorite arts, and I love it. I love to teach it. I love to train it.
Yeah, I've practiced you know, basic eskrima over the years, and actually, the most advanced stuff is what I've learned from you. Actually, really enjoy learning and practicing. You've come to our academy, you know, a few times and taught, and everybody absolutely loved it. It's great, practical. So it's so crazy how effective and how fast and how quick, how uh, you know, how damaging it can be so quickly, and with the simplest of, you know, the movements are efficient. They take a lot of practice,
They
uh,
do.
you know, but so efficient. And I just want to go back to something you said a few minutes ago with the bullwhip,
Yeah.
and because I actually got to learn from your instructor one time, and I believe that was in Charlotte, or
I think so. We did a seminar in, I think, Charlotte and maybe one in Florida. I can't remember.
so I'm pretty sure it's the one in Charlotte, and this might have been a decade ago. I mean, that was a long time ago. But anyway, he was giving a demonstration with the bullwhip, and I got volunteered, or I don't remember raising my hand. I think I got voluntold.
Yes.
Uh, there's that old skit with Jim Carrey, and they ask for a volunteer, and everybody steps back except for him. Um, and I'm pretty sure that was Jim Carrey. Yeah, on I can't remember what show, but that was years back. But anyway, that's kind of what it felt like. So anyway, he brought me out into the center of the room, and he took little pieces of paper, maybe 4 or 5 inches long, and he folded them in half, and he put one on each ear, and then he had me hold one of my teeth, and he stood back and cracked the whip a few times. I was like, no way, what is this guy gonna do? And he hit the paper off of this ear, hit the paper off of this ear, and then I turned, and sure enough, he cut the little piece of paper hanging out of my teeth right in half. Uh, I was scared out of my mind, and he's like, "Don't move," he's like, "Do not flinch," and that was one of the craziest things I've experienced actually to this day. Thinking about it, I mean that was quite impressive. An inch off, and I was going to be in some serious pain.
Yeah, it's interesting because I remember the first seminar I ever went to him was in I think it was in Daytona, Florida. And same thing, I got pulled up and I had, it's the same thing, the paper sticking out of my ears into my mouth, and I didn't move an inch. There was no way I was moving because
Oh, I was
I didn't
frozen.
want to get hit. So it's interesting with that weapon because when he practices with that one and demonstrates, it's just a little popper on the end. So if you take those into battle, and they used to use these in like the Spanish American War, and they take the ends of the whips and they put like fish hooks on them and glass and razor blades in them and rocks. And could you imagine getting hit with that thing with like fishing
No way.
hooks or razor blades? I mean, the amount of damage just getting hit with the whip hurts enough. I've been hit a couple times and man, does it hurt. But I couldn't imagine having like a stone in there or a fishing hook. That's just, ooh.
Yeah, that would be brutal.
But
Um,
yeah, it's a very fun art to train. And like I said, all of the weapons tie into each other, and they kind of teach in a reverse order too. They teach backwards, so they'll teach with long range weapons and then down to hand. A lot of times, depending on the instructor, and the stick is a pretty versatile weapon. It's a weapon that could possibly be around. If you're out somewhere, you're never just going to have a sword laying around or a set of nunchucks, or a shuriken. You're not going to have those things laying around. So, practicing with the sticks, short range weapon, and there's different sizes of the sticks, and then they have the bolos that have the sword end on it as well. So there's a lot of different really cool weapons to practice with. And then
yeah,
footwork, they really emphasize footwork and distancing and footwork. If you think about, fighting, sparring, just in general for the arts like we do, like your uncle has got some of the best footwork and he moved around so much. and footwork, it keeps you in or out wherever you need to be. And the person that's got the better footwork, a lot of times, they end up being the victor in that match. If you control the distance, you control the fight.
I love training footwork so much. I think my students get sick of it. But
Yeah.
it's so. I just say, man, all of your defense, all of your offense starts with your footwork. If you don't know how to move your feet, uh, it's the rest is not gonna follow. You're not gonna be able to defend well and keep the distance well. You're not gonna be able to attack. They're gonna see your strikes and attacks coming. You're gonna be telegraphing. So footwork is so important. Totally agree, and I agree with that. Like the stick, the Eskrima stick, and uh, is very practical. I always thought stick, and then maybe even the bow staff might be a practical weapon. You have broomsticks and things laying around the house that could be
Pool
utilized.
tables.
Yeah, pool
Yeah.
table. Lots of things that could be used. Just learning how to use them. Um, unlike the one of my favorite weapons I was actually competed with growing up a lot was the nunchucks. Uh, love nunchucks. As a kid, I wanted to be able to do all the twirls and flips and so I did. I learned how to do it. I For about 4 or 5 years I pretty much had nunchucks in my hands as a kid, and I was able to get pretty proficient at them. So I uh, still enjoy using nunchucks and teaching nunchucks. But when it comes to practical self defense, I think the screaming stick and bow staff are uh, you know a little more practical options. I don't have nunchucks. Actually, I shouldn't say that. There are nunchucks laying around my house.
I was going to say I keep nunchucks right under my bed.
so,
I'm pretty
so,
comfortable with them, pretty decent with them. So I always have a set laying around somewhere. I
but
remember
the
getting, some states nunchucks are illegal to carry.
really,
And I did get pulled over in New York State. I was on the way to a class and had nunchucks on my front seat and got pulled over. And, I explained to the police officer nicely that, I was on the way to karate class and he could see I had all my stuff. And he gave me a warning and he said, put them in the trunk next time. And, this is way back in the 80s, but I always remembered that because they were not like foam nunchucks. They were the real deal.
I have a similar. I think we were going to a tournament. And I think I got pulled over for speeding. I think and saying I had swords and sticks and nunchucks and bow staffs all in my car, and he was like, dude, what is all this? I said I'm going to a tournament. And same thing actually. I got off with the warning. Is like, yeah, keep these in the trunk.
I have a funny story about nunchucks. So me and my daughter, this is years back, we were traveling to a tournament, and it was in I think not Kingsport, Kingswood, Texas, I believe it was, somewhere down that area. And so we go to a tournament down there, and where we're flying from Charlotte uh, to Texas, and we get through the security check, and my daughter was competing in nunchucks. So of course she had her set in her gear bag, and we didn't realize it going through the security. So she was in front of me, so she goes through, gets through with the nunchucks, didn't get flagged, and I got flagged for like a 12-ounce container of hair gel. I couldn't believe it. So
Oh my gosh.
just another nunchuck story, but it was interesting to see hair gel not get through, and nunchucks made it through, no problem, no questions asked.
That's hilarious.
I'm
That's so
sure she could
funny.
have done a lot more damage with the nunchucks than I could have with my hair gel.
Well, you never know. Give
Maybe
somebody a
not.
bad
I don't know.
haircut. Give somebody a bad haircut and a bad hairstyle. That could scare some people off.
Could spike it
Um,
up strong enough, you can poke somebody. Maui brought up a good point here too. She said they had a practice defense against knife attack, but no real blades, no real knives, and that's a big thing when you are practicing. Definitely don't use real blades. It takes 2 seconds to have an accident happen. Is not worth it. I know my my instructor with knives is probably about one of the best in the world with knives. I'd put him and Dan Inasano probably up there as the top two. with sticks and knives. Danny Inisano, probably the best with sticks. Amaguru, probably the best in the world with knife, in my opinion. And he doesn't train with real knives. He makes sure that nobody has any live blades just to prevent any kind of incident or accident. It takes 2 seconds, no matter what your skill level is, to slip up just a little bit. I've seen that twice. I had done a crazy demo years ago for a real estate company, and we were at their office, and I didn't have any safety knives with me, and somebody asked the knife question, and it was a guy that did Krav Maga and was asking the differences between what we did, and it ended up getting to a point where I felt like the question kept coming, so I had to demonstrate. So one of the girls that worked in the office went to the break room, and she got it was only a serrated plastic knife from the break room, but ended up getting nicked by
Oh,
a little serrated blade, and so it takes 2 seconds for an accident to happen. So definitely practice with safety knives. There's a reason they're made. Stay safe. Live another day while you're training and practicing. So, but that's good that he doesn't train with the real knives. So because I've
I was
seen
doing.
over the years some crazy self-defense stuff with knives. I could probably tell stories about knife defense all day with some stuff that I've seen and things that I've learned from instructors in Japanese karate, where you're doing like hook kicks and stuff to defend against blades and intercrescent kicks against a blade, and that is an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I was wondering your opinion. I was able to train. I don't have any of these, but I was able to train with them with a friend in Virginia, actually that trains, and they have the practice knives. No blade. It was dull. Everything was dull, very safe to work with. But there was on the bladed side that would be the blade. If you put enough pressure on it, like as if it was slicing or cutting, it would beep. So as you're training, obviously if you hear that beep, then they had pressure,
Yeah.
on the knife. Have you trained with those, and do you think that they were realistic enough to practice with?
So I've not trained with those personally. So I've done the two different like real feel knife trainings I've done without getting cut. One is with magic marker, Sharpie markers.
I've done that.
Okay.
Yep.
That's one way to do it. It's a little bit different because based on where the tip of the marker is, just a little bit different. But another great way to do it is to take a regular safety knife. And what you do is you take felt and you glue felt to where the blade is, and then get red pool chalk or blue like pool table chalk for a pool stick, and you put that on the felt and get a good coating on that. So as you're working, the same type of deal. If you get hit, it leaves a mark, and same thing. You live another day, and you can train and move on. But those have been the only two ways that I've personally done it. The felt tip on the blade, that was really cool, and we wore white t-shirts so that you can see if you got nicked. Just make sure to have the t-shirts tucked in and everything. It works out a lot better.
Yeah, that was. It's a lot of fun too when you're practicing like that. It is a very serious, thing that you're practicing, but it does make it a little fun and, have a good time with it. Martial arts is. I love doing it every day. It's a blast. So make sure you train seriously and focused, but have a little bit of fun with it too. And I'll keep maybe I'll find that knife. I'd actually like to get some. I thought they were pretty effective in training. I thought it was pretty realistic, and it had to have enough pressure on it to beep. Um, and so I'll see if I can't
That's
maybe find
interesting. I've never
those.
seen those.
Yeah, is I'll shoot you an article or a link online to them and see what you think.
And where did you see that? Virginia?
Yes, yeah, with the jiu-jitsu school up there, and they also just did some basic knife defense, and so it's pretty interesting.
Very cool.
So today we finished up with the Screama. Our next episode next week, we're going to be talking about Aikido, Kizi or Kaizi fighting method. I've not heard of that one. Kung Fu, Judo, and I don't know if this is just line, Line.
I can't say I've heard of that one. So, keep in mind too, for everybody that's listening, with all of these different arts that you're seeing up here, there is a million different styles of them as well. You know, with karate, there's several different styles of karate, and they're all a little bit different. I know with kung fu's got tons and tons of different, you know, arts basically within it. So there's your northern styles, southern styles, and you know they're different based on the villages that they're taught in, the family systems. So we'll get. I know we'll get more into that with kung fu, but a lot of these styles that you see up here, there's within those styles, there's a lot of different styles as well. So they can vary a little bit in the way that they're taught, practiced, the techniques within them as well.
Yeah, and I mean this list. This is not an official list. This is not, This is honestly just to spark conversation and, educate. We're learning actually some of these, and then we're learning and expanding our knowledge. And we also want to share our experiences and our opinions and thoughts. If you're thinking about getting into martial arts, this article, did a good job putting this list together. The articles itself, I'm not a huge fan of. It gives a basic description, but then some weird stats and some, I don't know, some of it seems a little off. But no, it's just to spark good conversation, educate, and get our experiences and to you guys, so maybe you can make a good decision about which martial art you're interested in, maybe for you or your family or your kids, and so hopefully it helps. And if you have any questions whatsoever, if there's a martial arts that we haven't covered yet that you'd like us to, or maybe it's not on this list, please leave a comment. And we love talking martial arts. We do it every day of our lives, so we'd just love to chat and help out if we can.
Yeah, and we, you know, just keep in mind too, this is one series that we're doing on martial arts just to bring some awareness to it and get some general stuff out. And we're going to do, you know, some special stuff on what we practice personally, because we have really good data on that personally that we've used the arts and trained, so we can give you our personal experiences and thoughts. I like to experience everything personally before giving my opinions on it. So, you know, you'll be able to get our take on it. And then we are going to have some special people and some special interviews with people that are really good at their particular art or craft. And they'll be able to share their experiences too, you know, from their insight and their training and, you know, give you guys some information on that. So we'll have a lot of really cool stuff to come, you know, over the months and years to come. So we're, you know, excited to share that. And again, like KO said, if you have something that you want to hear about, definitely reach out, let us know, and we'll definitely talk about it and spark some conversation.
All right, is that a wrap for today?
That is, we'll also be getting back on track with UFC pick'ems this week. I believe there are fights this week. I know last week was a really crazy week. We actually didn't get to do the UFC pick'ems with travel schedules between all of us that put that together. I know we had one guy that was traveling. You were traveling. I was in town, but busy as could be with testings going on. So we dropped the ball on that one a little bit. So we'll get that back on track this week and then all that good stuff. But we'll talk about that more in tomorrow's stream. We have our Upland stream in the morning coming. So we'll have a bunch of information on that.
All right, guys, thanks for hanging out with us today. Thanks for chatting some martial arts. Please give us a like and a subscribe. That would be much appreciated. And leave us a comment. Appreciate it, everybody.
All right. Have a good one. We will see you guys back for the next 5.